If you clicked on this video, I want to thank you for such a great 2021 year on my channel. I really enjoyed making a bunch of creative videos on COD, and I'm excited to start working on new ones for 2022. So now, I'll let you enjoy this compilation of my best shorts during 2021. So I was playing Warzone when I decided to open up a bank in Verdansk. I placed down small stacks of money and then a fat bag on the counter of over $10,000. Now my bank was ready for business. Later, the doors behind me burst open, so I ducked down for cover. I quickly dropped my weapon so the intruder would stop firing at me. After this successful tactic, I followed it with some friendly dance moves. He came to the counter and grabbed the money I had up to loan. At the carbon bank, I only charged a small interest fee of 10% for any borrowed money. I sprayed in my heart and nodded to him as he slowly made his way to the exit. Later on, I heard a nearby loadout drop that was called in right next to my bank. I went to check it out, hoping it was my earlier client. While waiting around drinking my gamer subs, the same client from earlier made his way to the counter. He dropped me a pathetic stack of cash, which was nowhere near enough to cover his debt. I tried my best to signal to him that the bank would have to take action if his debt wasn't paid back. Instead, he tried to escape out the front door, but I was not gonna let him. I quickly chased him down and took action to seize what was now the bank's property. 2 custom loadout guns perfectly made up for the lost loan. So I was playing Warzone. I had the brilliant idea of trying to stop the train. To accomplish this, I would need the help of my viewers. We first had to get everyone a loadout drop and meet up on the train tracks. We all dropped our loadouts and tried our best to block the tracks as much as we could before the train passed by.
Stop the train!
It's coming in.
Coming, boys! Oh, shit!
Oh my god.
Unfortunately, the train easily plowed through all of the place loadouts and vehicles, sending them flying and killing anyone who dared to try and get in its way. We didn't stand a chance against the train. So I was playing Warzone when all of a sudden I spotted an incoming loadout drop. The player who had called it in was nowhere to be seen, so I quickly snatched it in the back of my truck and took off. Now my mission began. I wanted to set up the very first Verdansk loadout shop. I was driving around and I found the perfect spot under an overpass. I parked my loadout truck on the side of the road and started my shop preparation. As per usual, I started with spraying a couple hearts, then proceeded by dropping a few armor plates to sell to my potential customers. I covered them with hearts and was now ready to open up for business. Out of nowhere, I got shot by a player. I then quickly threw my weapons out to show I was a friendly gamer. As I was doing my friendly dance to gain this customer's trust, another client appeared in a car to come visit my shop. I was hesitant at first and hopped in my truck for protection. To my surprise, he turned out to be a friendly gamer as well. As my first customer was grabbing his loadout from my truck, another client appeared from the sky. As we were vibing, my first customer then came to pay for his loadout I had earlier stolen from him. I accepted his payment, but noticed he was running from my truck. I quickly turned on anti-theft and watched as he ran towards his inevitable doom. So I was playing Warzone solos when I decided to land directly next to this guy on the outskirts of the map. I quickly understood that this player was probably playing without a headset since he didn't notice me behind him for a long while. I followed him into a house and then he finally noticed his new best friend standing right next to him. He shot at me a couple of times to say hello, but I just wanted to do the friendly dance with him. I finally understood that this was most likely his house and he did not want me on his property. I quickly hid behind a haystack like an Assassin's Creed and waited for him to come out. When he finally noticed me, he started to shoot, but this time his goal was to kill. I was now scared and had to hide in this killer's house without him noticing me. He searched every corner of the house with no success, so I went to go give him a little hint. Later, while hiding upstairs, I heard a weird noise that distracted me from my hiding objective and ultimately got me killed. I went gulag in order to go play more games of hide and seek, but once I had made my way back, I couldn't find him. I noticed a loadout drop and thought I could find my friend there, so I hid and watched in silence. A player arrived, but it wasn't my friend from earlier and he had better luck. So I was playing Warzone when I decided to open up the very first Verdansk car dealership as requested by you guys. I had set up my store and was waiting for my first customer to arrive. I was vibing to my store's music, doing the friendly dance when all of a sudden I got fatally murdered by an angry Karen. I was juiced up on gamer stuff, so I easily won the gulag and headed back to my store. I knew that this time I needed to make the store look much more friendlier and cozy in order to have a successful transaction. I had improved my selection of vehicles and sprayed many more hearts to persuade my next customer. In the middle of my heart spraying, I was surprised by a wandering customer who seemed much more interested in my large range of car selections. He looked at the vehicles I had up for sale and his skin told me that he was a high roller looking to spend big bank. I sprayed one last heart to persuade him to purchase a car from Carbon's dealership and he came to the counter to give me his offer. He dropped the money back, but little did I know he underpaid me by $1,000. Before I could say anything, he got my whip and drove off into the Warzone sunset. So I was playing Warzone when I decided to open up the very first Verdansk go-kart course. To my surprise, when I got to the track, there was already another player. He ran up to the ATV already on the course and hopped in. As we were going to the start line, another racer showed up onto the track. Suddenly, some train racer haters shot us and called it a precision airstrike. While trying to escape, one of the racers squished me by accident. Hoping to race once more, I chugged some delicious gamer steps and won the gulag. Making my way back to the track, I met the previous racer that had accidentally killed me and he begged me for forgiveness. We exchanged some love hearts and friendly dances, then headed to our carts. As we were about to start, the third contestant also came back from the gulag. We were now ready for the final race. We hopped on our carts and waited for the start signal. Right off the bat, one of the racers got eliminated, now leaving only 2 left. His ATV was on another level, whipping around corners like Usain Bolt. He was a fast racer, but with my superior track skills, I surpassed him and secured first place. To celebrate my victory, he sprayed me a heart and turned around, offering me his life, so I accepted. So I was playing Warzone when I decided to open up the very first Verdansk hospital to give friendly players access to carbon care. I first had to set up my emergency room with hearts in place and was now ready to open my doors to patients in need. While drinking my gamer subs, I heard noises outside and a patient barged in. He slid behind a counter for cover, so I quickly dropped my guns to give him enough time to realize I'm a friendly gamer. I once again threw him my guns to prove I'm a nice guy and he followed suit. We now had a strong doctor-patient relationship, so I gave him the appropriate materials to tend to his wounds. He continued to patch himself up and grab some extra plates to be ready for battle. He dropped me a lump sum of cash and I gave him some extra ammo to help him out. He picked up my goods, so I grabbed this cash and wished him great success in his future battles. So I was playing Warzone when I decided to once again open up the carbonSHOTS gun store. I started off by setting up my shop with ammo and supplies, then moved on to pimping it out with multiple hearts and ammo sprays to give it a friendly touch. It was now time to officially open up for business. I was spraying hearts when my first customer barged in. He startled me at first and moved directly to my merchandise shelf. He picked up every item I had up for sale, leaving nothing. He then came to the register to pay up. Instead, he aimed his gun at me and shot a warning shot. Fearing for my life, I quickly dropped some of my money, thinking he would stop holding me up. This didn't satisfy his hunger as he fired more warning shots. I quickly dropped the remaining of my cash and prayed he would spare my life. He ran out of my shop, leaving me with no merchandise and no more money in the register. With revenge in mind, I quickly tried to find him. I spotted a recon device being activated and popped my dead silence to go investigate what was happening in my town. I peeked the corner and realized that it was him. The robber had stolen everything from me. I snuck up behind him and got the execution on this thief. So I was playing Warzone when I decided to start the friendly religion in Verdansk. My first potential worshipper entered the church without noticing me and slowly made his way to the altar. He walked up and grabbed the money I had placed as bait. I then dropped more loot from the sky as an offering to join my religion. He looked confused as to why new loot had appeared and looked up to his new god on the chandelier. I dropped down and he was so excited to see me that he shot to say hello. He was now going to become my first worshipper of carbonanity. I then sprayed the ceremonial hearts on his body for his initiation and we were now ready to go recruit more members. As we were running to the safe zone, we met a car driver that seemed interested in learning about my religion. Since we were distracted by the newcomer, we forgot about the incoming gas. I looked back to see my friend was okay, but sadly he fell down to the green sea of toxicity. I tried my best to escape and was also swallowed by the gas. So I was playing Warzone when I decided to follow a Big Bertha around Verdansk. After a couple crashes into each other and some shared friendly honks, we decided to come to a stop. I jumped out of my car and did the friendly dance while spraying some hearts. He kept honking and seemed friendly, so I hopped in the back of his truck. We had now created a strong bond and set out to find more friendly gamers. But, per usual, we were getting shot down, forcing us to flee. Later in the game, we came across our second candidate. The driver was spamming his horn and I was doing the friendly dance to gain this newcomer's trust. He then came down and hopped into the back with me. We were now 3 best friends driving around Verdansk in search of more friendly people, when all of a sudden RPG shots were landing right behind us. In hopes of converting a new player into our group, we went to investigate. So I was playing Warzone when I decided to reopen the carbonSHOTS racetrack. I got my course ready and then waited for customers to visit. While drinking some gamer subs and doing my friendly dance, I spotted an incoming player. I shot some shots while dancing to get this player's attention. He did a U-turn and parked his Jeep at the front of my track. I dropped my weapons to show I was friendly and he followed suit. Now that we established a friendship, I guided him to the starting line. We hopped on the ATVs and prepared for the race. At the start of the race, I was in the lead, but in no time, he quickly took first place. I could tell he was an experienced driver just by how well he was drifting around the corners. Before I could even realize it, he had passed the finish line. I dropped him his prize and then he drove off into the Warzone sunset. So I was playing Warzone when I decided to open up a Verdansk firing range to help players improve their aim. I started off by placing various ammo types for my customers to use and added ammo and heart sprays around to make it look friendlier. Next, I dropped the guns and placed the target sheets. It was now time to open up for business. I was chilling in my booth, drinking some gamer subs when all of a sudden I heard my first customer arrive. He came up to my back door and barged in while I was doing the friendly dance. Thankfully, he didn't shoot me and instead also did the friendly dance. We exchanged hearts and I showed him to the firing range. He picked up the ammo and then got into position to fire. I showed him which target to shoot at and he let loose. His aim was impeccable and I could tell that this training session had greatly improved his accuracy. I went back to my booth so I could try out another weapon, but out of nowhere I got shot down by an anti-gun activist, like for part 2. So I was playing Warzone when I decided to reopen the Carbon dealership. I started by placing 3 exquisite vehicles in my showroom to offer for customers. This time I made sure I wouldn't get scammed like the last time, so I decided to place C4 on my cars as a precaution. After a couple of heart sprays, I was now ready to open up for business. While drinking my delicious gamer subs, a hostile player started shooting at me. I dropped my weapons and ran around and sprayed some hearts. I did the friendly dance to finally gained his trust and he sprayed me a heart. At this point, he knew that this was a car business and expressed his interest in copying a new ride. He looked at the cars I was selling and inspected each model to decide which one he would finally purchase. He dropped the money bag and I thanked him with a heart. He got in and out of the car and snatched back the money from my hands and tried to escape with my car. I chased him for a bit to try and stop this thief, but I was too slow. Thankfully, I had prepared for this situation and pulled the trigger. So I was playing Warzone when I decided to open up the very first Verdansk helicopter shop. I started by placing down 3 gorgeous helis and moved on to spraying some friendly hearts. I then set some money down to show that all my helicopters were up for sale. As I was putting on the finishing touches, I heard someone coming up the zipline. I quickly threw down my weapons and started to do the friendly dance in order to gain my new customer's trust. He seemed confused at first, but proceeded to grab some ammo I had up for sale. He then was closely inspecting one of my helicopters, so I ran up to it and slapped it to indicate that he could buy it. He then dropped me some money and supplies in exchange for my heli. I gladly accepted his offer and he hopped into his new chopper. I went to go pick up his payment, but little did I know I had forgotten to check if he had a pilot's license. So I was playing Warzone when I decided to fill a bunker with money and heart sprays. I used my recon drone to try and attract a nearby player to come visit me in my bunker. He really tried to thermite my drone and had a hard time trying to shoot it out of the air. He finally made his way to my bunker and started to pick up all the bits of money I had left on the floor. Luckily, he didn't notice me in the corner, so I could continue watching him as he picked up all of the goodies. Once he went deeper into the bunker, I hopped in the back of my Bertha to see what was happening. He ended up entering the Bertha and started to drive off without seeing me. I then started to do the friendly dance, but he quickly noticed and got out to try and kill me. Luckily, I juked most of his bullets and even offered him all of my loot in exchange for his friendship. He seemed to have understood I meant no harm to him, but he still remained a heavy threat with his RPG in hand. I chased him for a bit while he went to get his loadout. Wanting to retrieve what was rightfully mine, I got into the Bertha, angering my new friend. So I was playing Warzone when I decided to try and open up a bed and breakfast. To attract customers, I filled up my rooms with some goodies. While painting the car, I heard some nearby gunshots, so I quickly took cover. To my surprise, I was the one being fired upon. I decided to spray a heart and do my friendly dance, which showed no effect. As a last resort, I dropped all my belongings, and in response, the enemy player did as well. Now that we were best of friends, I showed him the room that could be rented. To further convince this man to rent the room, I offered him a nice couple of gamer subs on the house. While visiting the shed in the back, we started to get shot at by an angry hotel owner. We dropped our weapons to show that we were some friendly people. He decided to eventually give up and join us on the Carbon Bed and Breakfast tour. While I was showing them my roof, the mischievous hotel owner showed his true colors and took out my client. This evil business tactic disgusted me and forced me to take action on this muppet.